Pre-race anxiety, pre-race nerves, anything that gets you nervous or anxious before a competition. Welcome to the video, guys. My name is Nico Schultz, 800-meter runner here in Nebraska, and this is something I've struggled with ever since I started running track, or really any competition in general, even my early days when I started playing football, basketball. But as the competition levels increase and as I've gotten older, I've been able to manage them a little bit better, even when the stakes got even higher. For example, in high school, when you're competing for your team, you're competing for the fun of it. You're competing because you like the sport. You're able to walk onto the team and have a good time. But then when you get to college, you're competing for a lot of different variables. You're competing for a spot. You're competing for, in a sense, money if you're on a scholarship. You are expected to perform at a certain standard if you're brought on for a certain amount of money. And there's so many different factors going on in your head, and there's so many high-level athletes out there that you're competing against that you can sometimes get lost in the fog, in a sense. And there's been a lot of races that I have not performed to my best, or I have not executed my race plan because I mentally was not in the right headspace going into the competition. And it took me a good season to figure out where I had to be mentally. And I'm going to share with you guys some strategies and tips that I do personally to help you guys get through this, whether you're at the high school level, middle school level, college, or even if you're a pro watching this. And so this is what I do. So each competition, no matter how big or how small, I always tell myself it's just another race. And this always calms my nerves, no matter if I'm going against one of the best in the world or if I'm going against, my own teammates at my home track meet and nobody else shows up. This really just helps calm things down, and the work that you put in is already done. When you're showing up to a track meet, you don't have to do anything extraordinary. You don't have to do anything that your body isn't used to doing. Yes, there's going to be certain days where you do amazing because your body's feeling 100%. There's going to be some days where you're a little bit tired going into a competition, and it's going to take a little bit more effort. Some days it's going to feel easy. Some days it's going to feel difficult. But the biggest thing is that you have to constantly remind yourself that, okay, I've already done so much work for this. I've put in the late nights, early mornings, discipline. I've ate right. I've done everything up to this point that I could possibly do. Now all I gotta do is go out there and do my thing. It's almost like you already put the money in the bank and you're just waiting for things to happen. My coach always like to say this saying, your hay's already in the barn. You already got this. And so you have nothing else to be nervous about. And so the best thing too to remember is that a lot of athletes are in your shoes as well. When you're going out there and everybody looks like super tough, super mean, in a sense they're in the same boat as you. They're nervous. They're nervous about their competition. People in the stands watching, and that's another factor too. I mean, silencing the crowd is something that is difficult no matter how big of a competition you're going against. It's nice to not get too high and then not get too low as well. And what I mean by that is you don't want to get too excited before your race. There are some people who love having conversations before a race to calm their nerves, or just kind of being funny or kind of being goofy, being locked out of the moment. And there's some people who are too low, who are too, oh my gosh, like this is about to be the worst thing in my life. They're doubting themselves. They don't really want to be there. And so you want to stay in this happy median between the two of not being too ecstatic and not being too low. There's been a lot of track meets where I've showed up and I've saw people and I've saw friends and people have come up to me. They're like, "Oh, Nico, blah blah blah," asking all these questions, and I would kind of get my focus taken away from my competition, and I would start having these conversations, and I show up to the competition flat. I show up to the competition without any of the juice, any of the fire, and I'm like, dang, like why do I feel like this? It's because I'm giving away the energy before the competition even started, and you can't do this. You have to make sure you are staying locked in. And in college, I'm sure some of my college athletes can relate to this. There are so many times where the wait is ridiculous, and this is what causes the most anxiety, is having to wait out there for the next competition to end so that you can walk onto the track and you're just there sitting. And something that I like to do is just keep myself grounded. I'm constantly just like kind of bopping my head. I'm just doing motions that like make me feel confident. I'm just like, I kind of like practicing my arms a little bit. I'm just like thinking about my race strategy. I'm just doing certain like psychology things to help me. And some people do their own little thing. I mean, some people want to bounce side to side. Some people do some jumps. Some people do some strides. I just like envisioning my success and being there and just kind of going like this in a sense too. I stole that one from Will Sumner, the national champion last year in the 800 who ran 144. I saw that he worked with sports psych, and he does this to envision his success, and it's something I kind of took too, and it's been working. I did that before my Arkansas race last week when I ran 147, and I genuinely think it does work. And another way and another strategy that I like to calm my nerves and calm my mind is journaling. Journaling writes out my race plan, my race thoughts, fears, everything like that. And it's always like this. Before I journal, I don't want to journal. I hate it. But then as soon as that pen hits the paper, I have so much to say, and then I reread it, And it really calms my mind because it's your own thoughts. It's the way you're feeling. It's the way that you view yourself. And that is super important, especially in the world of track and field too, because during the race, when let's say you have a longer race, like an 800, for example, and somebody passes you early on within 200, 400 meters, in your mind, you got to tell yourself, I can beat this guy. I got to stay with them. I cannot let them get too far ahead of me. If they pass you, in your mind, you instantly tell, oh, you suck. They're better than me, yada, yada, yada. They're going to end up passing you, and you're never going to catch up because you're too busy doubting yourself rather than making up the distance and making up the ground to win the competition. And so you just have to always be positive and always stay locked in and just stay disciplined during the race and just be in like this middle median meditative state where you are just ready to fire on all cylinders. And so going back to the journal I mentioned with you guys about writing out my race strategy calms me down, writing out my pre-race thoughts, fears, ambitions, really anything, just getting something on that paper really does help. And if you want to take it to the next level too, what I recently started doing is meditating with classical music. Classical music, they say, even helps you study. And so I saw a little study on that about how, it helps you study and do classwork. And so like I thought to myself, okay, why don't I do these before my track races and my competitions? So what I'll do is I put my music on, I'll kind of sit like in a Zen pose, my hands on my knees, and I'll just sit there kind of crossed and just envision the success, just calm everything down, and it's almost like the world just kind of stops moving a little bit. And it really helps. It really helps because I'll show up to these competitions and I'll really be locked in. It's an effort to get into the state that you want to be in before your competition. It's not something that just happens naturally. You gotta have. It took me a while to adapt race awareness, and the only way I achieved that was from running a lot of 800 and from training my mind to be able to compete at a high level. And it's super important. It's something that you cannot overlook. And basically, you just got to remind yourself that you're meant to be in that position. You're meant to be there. There were so many times last year and so many previous races where I thought, you're not meant to be there. You're not good enough. You don't deserve this, right? And I had to get rid of that way of thinking because I'm putting in so much work and so much time to show up to these competitions and think less of myself. And you don't deserve that. You deserve the world. And you have to be able to, in a sense, give self-love and self-confidence and self-belief that you are capable of achieving whatever it is that you set your mind out to do. And that is the number one thing you gotta remember in this video, or take away from this video, is that you gotta go in, believe in yourself. Even if you do absolutely terrible, you cannot lose your identity. You do absolutely great or absolutely terrible, do not lose your identity within your competition. You are not going to change because you ran an amazing time, and you're not going to change because you ran a terrible time. You're still the same person you are. What you do on the track versus who you are as a person are two different entities. And it's difficult to believe that because you spend so much time in track and field and so much effort and energy into it that in a sense it carries over to your personal life because that's all you think about. But one thing that's really helped me is honestly this YouTube thing, this video editing thing. It's helped me take my mind away from all the craziness in track and field, put my energy into something else, and basically take that away so that when I'm on the track, I'm thinking about track. I'm 100% track. I'm there. I'm on the track. I'm envisioning success. And when I'm off the track on YouTube, I'm here helping you guys. I'm here giving some knowledge. I'm here helping people with videos and different things like that. And so whatever your niche is, whatever your hobby is, definitely do that outside of that to help take your mind off of things, because it does get draining, especially at the collegiate level. The seasons are long. The seasons are daunting in a sense. I mean, when you go all the way from you're training for a fall all the way into the summer, June, I mean, that's almost like half a year. That's more than half a year. It's like 7-8 months. And so you just can't get lost. And what I say is get lost in the sauce in a sense. And so that's my biggest takeaways for you guys is no race is bigger than the next. Journaling, envisioning your success, not having self-doubt, and just remembering to not get lost into your track identity, because I have gotten lost in it in both senses. There's been races where I've been a little bit too high and I did really good, and I was riding off that high, and I was getting too froggy, I was getting too cocky in a sense. And then there's been races where I've done really bad, and then a downward spiral will start, right? I start getting down on myself. I start thinking that I'm not good enough. I start thinking that I don't deserve to be at the D1 level. And even at this level, even against some of the best in the world, like people still have these thoughts. There's a lot of Olympians and a lot of people, a lot of CEOs, people who have so much success in the world that are depressed, that have issues. I mean, no matter what you have materialistic or what you've accomplished, people still have to live with whatever they think of themselves. At the end of the day, it's you versus you. And you really have to train your mind and discipline your actions to align to the person that you want to be. Last year, I had a lot of issues because there was things I wanted to accomplish and I wasn't doing. Like, there was accomplishments on the track that I was falling short of doing. There was accomplishments with my personal life, like this hobby, for example. I would always think about doing it and I would never put the actions forward, and it was killing me on the inside because I was so passionate about it, and I kept on having these dreams, but I would never pursue them. And so it was just this downward spiral of wanting to do something but procrastinating it, and then putting in work on the track that wasn't being seen. The results weren't being performed, and I was losing my mind. I was like, man, what do I do? And I really had to take a step back, debrief from everything, take a break, and then come back and hit it even harder for 2024. And that's why I do these videos, and that's why I'm here today sharing with you guys my personal experiences. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments with your situation, your current scenario, and any way that you think I can help you get through whatever it is that you're going through at the moment. So thank you guys. This has been Nico Schultz, 800 meter from Nebraska, on my 2 cents on how to deal with pre-race anxiety and mental health and self-belief and confidence on the track. So stay tuned for the next video, guys. But this has been Nico, and peace out.